Nigeria's National Assembly has, of course, instituted and set in motion a joint committee on the review of the 1999 Constitution. And, of course, has promised to review the process to save cost and quickly deliver a constitution that will better cater to the interest of the general public. Now, joining me on the program at this time to discuss this is Olawale Okunniyi, is the General Secretary of The Patriots. Thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
Nigerians.
Yes, it's great to have you live at the studio. Interesting times again in our great nation. I mean, this attempt at a review of the Constitution is not the first attempt we've seen in Nigeria's political history, even though we've seen alterations, at different times. It looks like at every point we are back to the same issue of, reviewing certain clauses. Let me just ask you a blanket statement. Where have we been getting wrong?
It is at the foundation. If the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? The foundation of the Constitution, the procedure and processes leading to the production of that Constitution, origin of that Constitution, is faulty.
All right.
And therefore, it cannot be called a Constitution, but a military decree, the way it was fashioned.
I'd like you to expand more on the
I am doing that.
Okay.
By government. A government does not give the nation a constitution. It is the people who elect people to a constituent assembly, a constitutional convention, give unto themselves through their agent or representative, and then come back to a referendum to endorse a constitution which is proclaimed by the assembly or by government as the people's constitution. But what we have done in 1999 makes the present 1999 constitution a decree up till today, because it is an attachment to a decree 24 of 1999. It was not in process, endorsed by Nigerian citizens in an assembly. It was a committee that was put together by General Salami Abubakar and the rest. And then the military sat in the PRC, Provisional Ruling Council, and decreed it under Decree 24 of 1999. That cannot be a constitution. What that constitution attempted to do was a coup against the people. If you look at all the sections, you see that there is nowhere in that constitution where the people are given any role to play in the management of their sovereignty or the country. No place. In every other thing that is done, unlike Britain, US, advanced democracy, where citizens periodically do plebiscite or referendum, that is not in the Nigerian constitution. It's a military constitution. It is a military nation. It is unitary. It is obey and command, and it cannot be a constitution. So you will attempt to review and review and review, and that review is carried out by the agents of the people. The agents of the people, it is not a government, elected representative of parliament, that gives the constitution. It is the people who will go and elect and say, for the purpose of giving a ground norm, not for the purpose of going to make law or amend law for the purpose of government. No, for the purpose of the ground norm, our political agreement. We elect you to a constitutional convention. And at that place, we want you to, this is what we agree to, or this is what we want. And that forms the ground norm, the totality of the political agreement of the people. So the problem with the Nigerian constitution, why you continue to review and review and review, is because it did not emanate from the people. It was just a committee work.
So are you saying that a review is not the solution, but instead an entire...
You have to replace it, an entire overhaul.
Replacement.
That is the solution for us. And that is what we are saying at the level of the Patriots. Because we have done a lot. In the last 3 decades, I've been part of processes of research and investigation into what our constitutional arrangement is. And we found out that what we have is not a constitution, but it has helped us to live, by force. there is a force in it, and the people don't even know about it. And therefore, we need to change that. We need to replace it with what is called a people's constitution. That is a constitution that is made with the participation of the entire citizenry and the peoples. You know, Nigeria is a diverse, plural entity. Pluralistic entity where you have diverse
opinions,
nationality and tribes and whatever. Therefore, you need some form of agreement of those diverse peoples. And then you need the citizen to endorse on and say, this is what we want to call our constitution. But for government, parliament, to take it as the job for the boys, it's not going to help us.
What do you mean by job for the boys?
Yes, you know, year in, year out, the budget money for review of constitution, humongous budget for it, and then it amounts to nothing because they will still come back and deal with it. It has not satisfied the country or satisfied our governance, architecture, and system.
All right, so let's look at specifics within the Constitution that for you feel are not or should not even be an item, you know, in that Constitution. Those areas you consider problematic.
Well, one of them is the area which I think should be really quickly, immediately amended. And that is the area, Section 9. Section 9 of the Constitution tells us how you can amend the Constitution, how you can, you know, Section 9 just spell out how you can amend the Constitution. But it did not give the Nigerian people any authority, which is the normal thing, over the Constitution. The people, the citizens, are expected to have sovereignty over the Constitution, not their elected representative. So Section 9 needs to be amended by the Parliament. And the amendment will be such that they were meant to provide what you call referendum clause, or clause for plebiscite, that is, that can allow the intervention of the citizens in their constitutional arrangement, constitutional matters of the country, you know, critical constitutional matters, so that when there are some critical matters that the citizens need to attend to, they can attend to it as citizens.
But some would also say that, why then do we have representatives? Why were they voted?
Parliament representatives are essentially in government. They are elected to make law and amend laws. Laws are not constitution. A law is different from a constitution. A law is made from a constitutional provision. Based on the provision, the agreement of the people, which is the covenant of the people, you are elected to make law. You are not elected to give us a constitution, to give us the drawn norm, the overall, you know, sovereign document. No, you are to make laws, that is, to guide little things about our life by the provision of this constitution. So Parliament, legislature are elected to make law or amend that law. But the constitution, anywhere in the world, in advanced demo, anywhere universally, is made by the citizens. Through also, they may do it through their representative, which we call secondary referendum, you know, indirect referendum. That is, they elect representative to an assembly, and there must have been a debate, there must have been a process, there must have been people elected on non-party basis to go for a constitutional convention to make a constitution. They are two different things. You have representative, fine. Their work in government. Government is to make law and to amend law, make policies based on what? The constitution of the people. So the constitution is the one that even divides government the role of government, what government will do and what government will not do. And to that extent, whatever it is contrary to the provision of the Constitution shall be null and void and of no effect.
All right. Let me leave you for a moment. I understand that we need to go on a quick commercial break. When we return, we'll pick up. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining us, this is Politics HQ on News Central Television, and we are looking at Nigeria's attempt at a constitutional review. This, of course, not being the first time. I have with me still Olawale Okunniyi, is the General Secretary of the Patriots, and of course, he's live with me in the studio. Thank you for your time once again.
It's my pleasure.
Now, let's go to specifics as regards some, well, I call it burden areas of concern, as regards this review. Many are talking about security. They're also talking about cost of governance, amongst the plethora of issues. I'm sure we'll pick them piece by piece. But let's start with the idea of security, and some saying, you know what, we need to have a state police, for instance. And we also need to cut down on the amount of ministries and agencies. And that, of course, that makes reference to the Onosoi report. I'd like your take on that.
Thank you again. For if the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? You can't build state police on this present constitution or constitutional order. I am radical enough, courageous enough to let you know that.
Why is that?
As an authority on this matter, you cannot build it because the governors are already, by this constitution, with absolute power, emperors. They have almost absolute power with security vote and the rest. They will use it without control against their opponent, political opponent. Therefore, what you need to do, state police is desirable. It's one of the best things you must have in the federalism. But the first thing to do is to first produce a state constitution.
A state
constitution,
okay,
which first democratizes the state itself and say, look, this is it. And taking cognizance of the fact that absolute power corrupts absolutely. So that I spread it and say, in the case of this, the police is this and the rest. If you look at US, you can't just use police. But in our case, the president can order the IG, and then the same thing will happen in the state. And therefore, so the first thing to do is to proceed to rebuild, to reconfigure, to re-engineer, to restructure our political architecture through a new constitutional order. In which case, the federating unit that the state will have its own constitution that will be debated and agreed upon by each of the different entities called themselves states.
So what clauses do you feel can be there to avoid a situation of abuse of power?
Clauses in
yes,
the Constitution?
Yes.
No, the first thing to do is to try, because if you put a clause in federal constitution and there is no state constitution, and then you give police to the governor in a federalist country, the state or federation, they have their constitution. Where is the Ogun State constitution?
So what you are suggesting, what you are suggesting right now is that there should be a general constitution at the federal level.
That's the federal constitution.
Federal constitution, yes. And another constitution for states.
For state, that will be the guiding. That will be the guiding ground norm for controlling state police or operating state police.
But don't you also think that will create a situation of confusion? No confusion. Where how do you ensure that phrases or scenarios don't clash?
It will not clash.
Okay.
It will not clash. You start the process from the base, the federating unit. They go for their conferences and they fashion their own. We run it before. You have the Western region constitution. The northern region has its own constitution. The Southeastern region has its constitution,
but
and we have a federal constitution.
How does this further unify us?
The federal constitution will just take cognizance of key, relevant, and related issues, like security, for instance. It can say, well, since there is no federal state, let policing be controlled, be in the, what do you call it, the prerogative of the state. And so the policing will be under the state. But meanwhile, the constitution or the people also must, so that the governor doesn't become an emperor using their force, because the force belongs to the people, and he must be loyal to the people of that state. But in the case where there is no law or there is no constitution, agreement of people on how they want their police to be used, the governor is at liberty to use that against them. So the problem with Nigeria is that since 1963, it ceases to be a true federal country. In the federal country, there are two tiers of government, and each tier of government has its own constitution. So you cannot run the constitution, you cannot run the state with federal constitution. The state has its constitution, but it must make sure that in that agreement, its constitution does not, is incongruous, is in agreement, you know, with the federal, because they will still come together. All the states will come together and then make a federal law and then see. So you can then, you know, unify through the federal and say, look, but any constitution within the federation that is contrary in provision to that of the federal government or the federal federation will be null and void. So they also must look at what are the principles. So it's a huge work, but we need to do it. We need to rebuild this place. It's a huge work. We aborted it in 1963, and we need to go back to it. So except we go back to that 1960 and begin from, oh, how did we feel? How did you have that problem that led to military coup? We will solve this problem.
All right.
We had agreed, our founding fathers agreed to a federal country, that we are not the same people. The Yorubas are not the same as Hausa in culture, in history, in language. The Igbos, the Efik, the whatever. Therefore, let us run and cooperate. Let there be a central constitution, which is the federal constitution that guides all of us. All right. And then deal with the military, defense, what you call defense, the foreign affairs, currency, and one other thing. Okay. Every other thing is left. All
right. I know we've talked extensively, at least on security. Let's move to the judiciary now. How do you suggest this would impact on the judiciary, ensuring that, I mean, it's truly the last hope of the common man and it remains incorruptible?
Yes, it will impact. You mean my suggestion? My suggestion is that you could have the same thing in each federating unit. You have your High Court, you have your Appeal Court. You may decide to say, well, the Supreme Court is left in the hand of the federation. You may say so, or you say there is even a Supreme Court. But the best thing, and what was done in the past, is that you have your appeal, you have your High Court in the state, you have your Appeal Court, then the Supreme Court is just one for the country. It unifies all of us, so that you can, if you don't get justice at the federative, maybe you get at the Supreme Court. That way, easy administration, very coordinated administration of justice at that level. So that is what I say. But the question of cost of governance, which you have raised, is critical. It's critical in the sense that it has made Nigeria poor. And every lazy person who do not have any idea about progress or anything, or politics or governance, run to politics to make money. They care less about, because they have seen this, how we have structured our country our governance, and they see that huge money is voted by government themselves for themselves, because they were the one who made that constitution. If we were to be the people that had made that constitution, they would not have given so much, both power and resources, to governance. A large chunk of our resources that we make goes into governance, running government agency, PA and SEs and all of that, and all sorts of things, and corruption. So that is where corruption. Government is the abode of corruption because of what we have structured. And that's why I keep talking about foundation. We have created a foundation that you must be corrupt to thrive. If you are not corrupt in this climb, you cannot thrive. You can be anything said, can be anybody. You can't even win election. If a Wole Soyinka or if an Awo rises from his berry today to contest election, he will lose in front of his house because he will be principled not to share money. And then they won't vote for him because the people have been impoverished, pauperized, and made poor. And so the expectation is that when you go there, that place is, we must do Thanksgiving for you winning election. So Ile-Obe. So you go there and cut away and loot. And if you loot well, they come and hail you. So that is the structure we have. So if you must break that, you must make parliament lean a unicameral legislature.
Unicameral.
That is one house. One house. And it must be parliamentary government in essence. That is, you will elect parliament from the various constituencies. They must be elected, and those who will form government must have been first elected as parliamentarian. 2 in 1. They are there, they make the law, and they form the cabinet.
How about the ministries and agencies?
The ministers and agencies will be there under the minister, who is also a cabinet member, who is also a parliamentarian.
Are you of the opinion that some ministries or agencies shouldn't be?
Oh, yes. Of course, they are bogus because they are jobs for the boys. Yes, they are.
You want to mention any?
We can rationalize them according to Orosai. But even when you rationalize them, corruption still goes on. Corruption is in the bedroom of the president, any president, in the bedroom of that, because it is a spiritual phenomenon. The moment you do your constitution determines the life, everything is a spiritual document, because that's the spirit that guides everything. You see, where anybody does anything, they say that's illegal. The person wants to do good thing, but they say it is unconstitutional. You can't do it. And then, because that's the supreme law, foisted on us, therefore, we have to really change our foundation. It's not, we can rationalize, put a ministry and this together. The boys will still find a way to circumvent and get what they want to get.
So is it a situation, anyway, maybe when we come back from this break, I would allow you to answer that, because I understand we need to go on a quick commercial break. When we return, the show continues. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining us, this is Politics HQ on News Central Television, and I still have my guest, Mr. Olawale Okunniyi, is the General Secretary of the Patriots. Thank you for staying with me, sir.
Yes,
now, before we went on that break, you were actually trying to establish the fact that corruption seems to be endemic. So my question to you is this. I mean, we know that there are institutional problems, but again, do we also have a chronic human problem here too in our hands?
Well, you always have in every society, but it's the rules that guide human laxity, corruption, etc. Human beings are innately corrupt in the flesh. Thomas Hobbes said that human beings are essentially selfish, self-centered. They want for themselves and but it's the rules. That's why he was talking about the essence of the creation of the state. Why you need the state. And what do you call the state? The constitution, government. Constitution and government. That's what is essentially the state. And when you have a constitutional order that is warped and corrupt by itself, the intention and is corrupt, corruption will fester. Because human society will not guided will go into war against itself. British, everybody can be corrupt, then might will be right. And that is the essence of the ground norm. That, okay, let us all agree to, then let us have elected representatives to manage that agreement.
All right, let's go back. Let's go back to the issue of cost of governance. You talked about a unicameral system.
Yeah.
What other areas do you feel that cost of governance can also be drastically, cut down?
Yeah, that's fundamental. If you're able to do that, it will deal with every other thing because you have a parliamentary system. You have unicameral, then you have a parliamentary system of government. It suits us here. It is cost-effective, it's cheap to run, it's transparent, it's accountable. It is not bogus.
Should the Constitution also touch on remuneration?
It doesn't aid big man rule. Remuneration of officers, yes, fine, under parliamentary system. You can say allowance, sitting allowance, part-time sitting for the parliamentarian. The cabinet can be there day to day. When the parliament reconvenes, they can sit together in the parliament. But you need essentially to reduce cost of governance in Nigeria a parliamentary system of government in which there is high legitimacy. Most of the ministers are appointed by one man. It is a big man rule. With gargantuan, operational paraphernalia of office. Sucking our resources. One big man with high power. In Nigeria, the president of Nigeria is second to God. He can even be God. He can turn a woman to a man. The power is too much. The Nigerian president is too powerful. So you need to cut that power. You need to cut all that remuneration, all that paraphernalia of office, all that perks of office. It becomes a parliamentarian just in the UK or in France or in Belgium. You see the prime minister riding bicycle to the office. In this case, it's big man rule. You have limousine, 5, with all kind of zombie, and then all sort of things. They are unnecessary. Why? It's because too much wealth of this is in the hand of one man that is personalized. So they are afraid that somebody may want to come and kill this man. But see the British Prime Minister riding bicycle, no even aid. There is no big walls in such society, no big fence like our own. You see people build houses and they build very humongous fence. So it is that innate fear that with this thing in my hand, some people are poor, about millions are poor, and they may want to break in. I need war. But in UK, in France, in Belgium, in Netherlands, you just see the man seated there, you walk in there, because there is nothing to fear.
All right, let's look at the issue of resource control here, and how this.
That's germane. Resource control is innate and intrinsic in federalism. Resource control, what does that mean? Resource control, that is the federating unit that generates or produces the resources, must control it, must be left to control it, and then pay tax or royalty to the center. Because that central corporation must survive. Because it helps all of us against external aggression. Maybe Ghana want to hit us, or US, we fortify our defense, our foreign affairs and the rest, we are under one umbrella, we are one currency, and so on. So we pay to run that federal, central operation. But resources, the legitimate thing, the decent and very morally upright thing to do is for the federating unit, maybe state, maybe region, that generates the resources to take about 70% or 80% to develop its area and for its people, and then pay royalty or tax to the federal government. Because the federal government will be lean in operation. It may not have more than 4 ministries or 3. Ministry of Defense, the Central Parliament, and then Central Bank, and then Foreign Ministry. That would just be the business of the federal government. And it must do it well. Just 4, like you have 49 now, or 50. That's rubbish. So the other resource will come to Lagos State, for instance. Lagos State have enough to run its local government.
How about states that are not able to, for instance, generate enough?
They will generate. There is no place in Nigeria that you don't have natural resources. Go to Zambara Gold. Go to Maiduguri. Nigeria is blessed. All the areas in Nigeria, within Nigeria, are blessed. There is no state. But the fact that the federal government has taken so much of the resources will not make sure they go camping now to Abuja to collect. And that is upside down. That is a cause. It's lopsided federalism, where federating units go to Abuja to go and collect resources that is taken from its territory to now, and then they give them whatever 13%, instead of them to give 13% to the federal government. So it's still a military rule. What we have is a military. It was not in existence in 1960, 1963. So it changed after military incursion or during the military interregnum. It changed to military obedience. So the federal government became very humongous, and then the state very lean. But we have to turn it back to 1963, where the federating unit, the state here, call it Lagos State, generate the resources, take 80%, pay 20 or even 10 to federal government, and then federal government has just limited responsibility, defense, foreign affairs, common currency, and then parliamentary management. This are its own concern. So you have to redo some of this coup. There is a coup by the military against the entire country. And that coup is sustained by the military decree 1924. It's still a coup. The coup still hangs since 1999 because that constitution still sustains military rule.
All right. Now, let's talk about the local government.
So what we have done, in essence, is to pull off, is to put agbada on khaki, or to pull off khaki and put on agbada in the same structure.
Let's dive into the local government autonomy, for instance. Of course, we know that the local government is the closest to the people. And if all of this is to play out, how will this impact on local government autonomy and administration?
There is nothing that should be, it's an aberration to talk about local government autonomy. Yes, within a federating unit that could be democratically established local government administration. All this one is trying to find solution at all costs. Wrong solution. So you are saying the initiative by the recent local fiscal autonomy is an aberration? It's still creating more problem. Because how is that? Those people that you give autonomy at the local government do not have a guide of their own. They too will steal the money. You don't know what we know about this country. You've done all the research. You've done all the practical research under Chief Tony Enauro of blessed memory and Professor Wole Soyinka. So all of the attempts you're saying are futile? futile because let it be implemented. You will then see some freedom even in local government. People rush there again to make money. I rather prefer to go there and make my money because it's about making money. It's the governors and imperial, they take it from local government and give them, just like federal government is also doing. It's the same thing. So local government too, they take it and say, people, councillor, you get small. Councillor, you get small. That is what is going to happen. What we should do is fundamental overhauling of this place, restructuring of this place, and say, look, let us put edge on edge and put leg down from 1963. Let us leave military rule. What we have today is, so local government is not going to benefit. I am saying it correctly, but most people who have not put their mind on it, just like state policing that I analyze for you, we say, oh, local government autonomy. People will go there and steal. People will rush down to local government. And then there is no guide. There is no constitutional guide, even for the state to say, our local government administration, this is what we, the people of Lagos State, agree, that this shall go to this shall go to K2, K2 shall go to this, and this are, there must be first constitutional conference of the state, where the state people also determine how they want the state to be run. They themselves must first determine how the state, you cannot build any righteousness. First, your federating unit, and then say, we want to cooperate with other states in the Nigeria, and we are going to a conference. We are going to elect our own state representative to a national conference. At that national conference, we now can debate and moderate and say, this is the way we have been running up. This is what we have agreed. But because of this, we do this, then we modify what we have at the state and say, because it's going to be contradictory to this. So can we look at this and then change it so that we can have a seamless administration of this Nigeria area. Right. But jubilating over local government autonomy is another suicide. Because it's going to lead us nowhere. More people who have no business governing us will go there. People without anything on their head about government and governance. And are not even concerned about anything philosophy. They will just go there and sit down there and then be making money and become like balloon. You call balloon politician and then bust one day.
All right, we need to go on a quick break. And of course, when we return, we will be talking about electoral reforms. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. If you are just joining, this is Politics HQ on New Central Television. And I still have my guest with me, Olawale Okunniyi, is the General Secretary of the Patriots. Thank you for staying with me, sir. We are, pressed for time, but I just need to ask you this. Electoral reforms in Nigeria, we've seen attempts over time. We know that the recent being the one of 2022 Electoral Act. And but at the end of the day, Nigerians still complain about the quality of elections. From its conduct to the eventual results. At the end of the day, we've seen the judiciary having to intervene and upturn, some of these outcomes. Where are we getting it wrong?
Electronic transmission of results. That was manipulated and circumvented by the political class, the ruling class.
Are you saying that we are not ripe for that? Is that what you're saying?
We are ripe for it, more than ripe. And we also need to even have diaspora voting. We have ripe and we have the capacity for that. But the ruling and political class conspired against electronic transmission of results. Who would have solved that problem? We advocated for that October 1, 2021. And the Senate caved in. But now, when we got to court, the INEC is not under compulsion to transfer, to deal with the IRF.
So briefly, how can we get it right?
So getting it right, we must go back to IRF and make it compulsory for all results to be transferred to the portal in real time. And that must be the real deal. No other result or platform for result should be higher than that.
You were talking about diaspora voting.
Yeah, diaspora voting is critical at this point because it helps inclusion. Because those who make this place develop are essentially outside the country. They bring in money and the rest, and then we disempower them, we disenfranchise them. In Britain, it's not so. In small countries, it's not so. In Africa, here, people, diaspora vote. In our own case, we just do things anyhow. Bad things.
But
we just, and our
but does the country
class,
have the infrastructural capacity to support this?
Look at smaller states, countries in Africa doing it, Zimbabwe, and all of that. Running diaspora, and we cannot do that. They even have what you call early votes for people who are going to be on essential duty. They go and vote first. It's just our own thing because of 419. Our own thing that we can't do right because the people in power, if you do things right, they'll be out of power. If you must do anything right, those in power, those who have captured the state today, will be out of power. So what pays that nothing is done right? And that is why nothing works in Nigeria. The concern of Nigeria, that is supposed to be the fundamental basis for every development, is also warped and corrupt. And it tells a lie against itself with the people of Nigeria when it was actually decreed into existence by the military. Therefore, we have to go back to the base, the foundation. An electronic transition of result is very key. It's very key. The moment you do it, the politicians will beat back. They will move back. They know that the game is up. But look at what happened in 2023. The IRF refused to work for the presidential election, and it worked for Senate and House of Reps. So we must learn to do things right. Ordinarily, in the same country, they will say, okay, now that it has happened this way and it's compulsory in the law, we have to put a hold to this. Let us redo it so that nobody complains. That's it. So we must get to have a perfect system. But we don't have a perfect, everything is upside down. God will save us. One day, people will come who are genuine and who want to save this country. And they will say, enough is enough. Let us structure this place for the development of Nigerians.
All right. Mr. Olawale Okunniyi, thank you so much for your time. General Secretary of the Patriots. Once again, thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to meet you.
And of course, it's been a great one tonight. In case you missed out, you can actually catch up on our YouTube platform. That's News Central TV. You can also follow us across social media with the same name, News Central TV. You can follow me personally on socials at Dakbo at Digboyi. The opinions of our guests remains theirs, and not that of News Central. Good night.